fact, it really maintains the R15, except it was clustered together, and you have semi-attached houses, which are single-family units, which happen to have a common wall, and then you have a whole series of true single-family houses, which are essentially high ranches. I'm not aware of they're talking about these other areas which are more densely populated. They're not in that particular area. They're certainly not on the other side of Pascack Road where Olin is. Those places, they all appear to be R15, and they're all single-family houses, with the exception of one particular area that was developed about 20-some-odd years ago. But other than that, everything in that area was in the R15 range. In addition, the continuation of Pascack Road going straight on Northbrook Road is all single-family houses and have been ever since I've been here and before that. If they're talking about development in Spring Valley, that's exactly what the problem is. The development in Spring Valley is multifamily. It is far denser than what we're accustomed to where we are. I don't know whether or not the prospective owners or tenants in the new project would be in the school district. It is the East Ramapo School District either way, even though we're in Clarkstown. I don't know how that will affect that district, but that's something which should be considered as well. And it is, as you know, a very troubled district for a lot of reasons. As I say, I would look forward to see what the actual revised plan would be, because as it was presented to us now, it would appear to be almost as if it's halved in size, although I don't know if that's really correct. Obviously, if we expected 210 units, all of which had 4 to 6 bedrooms, that's twice the size of what they're talking about now. And nobody seemed to say that wasn't the case last time, so I don't know what it's going to be like the third time we come back, but it's obviously an improvement if it's half the size, as long as they are not going to use Springbrook Road as an access point to do the construction or for traffic coming in and out, because it's simply impossible to do it. We do not have bus service going down Springbrook Road. Bus service stops at the corner of Springbrook and Forestbrook Road, which happens to be part of my property, because I have the large corner over there, and you have cars all over the place during the hours of 7 and 9. So, as I said, I don't know what it is that the traffic engineer thought he saw, but that's there all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yocker. Nancy Restuccia. Am I saying that the right way?
Yes, close enough.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Nancy Restuccia. I live in Nanuet, and I will be brief. There's a saying that says statistics, more statistics than lies, and I believe that you can get a report to say anything that you want it to say. So I hold very little credence with these reports that are done. And everybody is concerned about the impact on this, the impact on that, but nobody's saying anything about the impact on our home values. Because where the Hasidim move, home values tend to go down.
Well, this is a project on a land use. This is not something that is designated. Under federal laws, when this is built, anybody will be able to buy this. As a matter of fact, I think they have 18 units that are designated as affordable units as well. So,
Right. Yeah, I believe that too.
well,
Yeah. And you can see everybody here agrees with me. I am already.
well, I just want
Yeah.
you to know that there's a federal law, and these units by law will have to be open to anyone. So I just didn't want you to
No, I understand that could be
Okay.
open to anyone, but there won't be allowed to be open to anyone because we've seen that happen
No,
elsewhere.
that would be against the federal law. That's what I was trying to explain
Right,
to you.
and there's a way to get around it. There's always a way to get around it. So I am vehemently
Nancy.
opposed, yes, to this development because of personal reasons. My property value has already decreased by $100,000 because of the bank fiasco, and I'm afraid with continued expansion like this, property values in Rockland are just going to continue to go down, and you're not going to be able to live here anymore. So I am being very politically incorrect, but somebody has to say it, and nobody's addressing these types of issues, but yet everybody here feels the same. And I'm sure if I can get 100 other people or 1,000 other people in here from the neighborhood, they would feel the same way.
Thank you,
That's all I
Nancy.
have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
William Ajetti?
Thank you very much, Supervisor.
Good evening. Moi content de
Good
venir
evening.
parler avec nous aujourd'hui.
Thank you very much. And good evening. My name is William. My last name is Ajeti. I live right at the back of the property that they are trying to develop. And I'm wondering still we are discussing this issue, Mr. Supervisor, because most of us who lives in the area have expressed our, inappropriate way of coming to develop the area. I have said from the beginning that this small property helps us in the area. When the wind blows, terrible. When the storm blows, terrible. These are the small portions of land that supports the developments in the area, our houses in the area. This morning, I was standing at the back of my house, Mr. Supervisor, and I saw so many, the whole place is wet, flooded. And I'm wondering why they are not looking forward for another place to go and build this development done to come to our area and destroy our area and go away. And I'm very glad they have done so much research work on the area. I'm so glad. But in the English language, we said it is easier to be said than done. When you have come and you have developed the place and you have gone, you have taken your money, and then we are going to suffer in the area. And that is why we don't want it. And then I don't know if you have noticed, some of the Rockland developments are becoming segregational. I cannot go and rent it. Neither you can go and rent it. And so if these things are coming into our area, it's coming to be very, very uncomfortable to us. And that is one of the important things too, which we have to address. And now, Mr. Supervisor, I want to ask them a question. The representatives here of Lumba, and then those who have brought all their research work. Let us face facts. If it were to be you, and they have to develop this at the back of your house, will you be happy? Tell me this evening. If it's your house, you, and they want to develop this property at the back of your house, will you be happy? No. You'll never be happy.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Supervisor, all we are telling them is that they shouldn't put us into an awkward position where we cannot handle it. You know, with all respect, this evening, we want to tell you once again that we reject the proposed zoning amendments and the comprehensive plan amendments that is before you, before all of us tonight. We reject it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ajetti. Hiram Cologne?
Hello, my name is Hiram Cologne. I live on 29 Albacon Road, which is the next left after you come up Forest Brook Road. The first right is Springbrook, and the next left is my street. And it's also a dead-end street, which I have appreciated for 27 years that I've been there. When I first moved there, the realtor that was working with me told me, this is a transitional neighborhood. Okay, so this is like a starter home for you. Not everyone could look like that at situations like this is a starter home, and that you're going to just go prosper, and then in a few years you're just going to get up and go and get a bigger house. You know, that's nice. Some people could do that, but many people cannot do that. And being that the country took a real terrible fiscal crush since about 2007, 2008, and like somebody else mentioned before, land values were going up, and I was pretty happy. My property was increasing, and then all of a sudden it went the other way, and it stopped, and it started going down. And as people move out, and I personally know at least about 3 families that have moved out, and unfortunately they had to sell at a lower rate, which affects the people that stay behind. Consequently, the land values, the property values go down. I raised my family, my 2 sons there, and I'm raising my granddaughter there right now. I could tell you that I lived a very happy life there since 1987. I know all the kids in the neighborhood, and I've seen generations of kids growing up in the neighborhood. I knew kids all the way from down the hill to some kids from Spring Valley, because I was a baseball coach, and I saw something changing in the last, especially in the school systems, and I know that there has been a transition in Spring Valley of the groups that live there. Also, there were some things that used to bother me. Basically, I was at the back on this side of Clarkstown, and behind me was I think it's 2nd Avenue, which runs straight all the way to Ewing, I think, or close to it. And every once in a while, things would happen on that side of the street. And some things affected, I was afraid sometimes. I heard bullet shots and stuff like that. There was drug dealings going on back there somewhere. There was a whole lot of things. There were sometimes sting operations where police came to me and asked me if they could film and stuff like that. And some of that has cleared up. And I saw, because I would travel through 2nd Avenue and to Spring Valley, in that area, and I saw that they built a lot of large single homes, which was good. And then as you go north, all of a sudden I noticed, as you get toward Ewing Avenue, that they started building larger, multi-units. So I wasn't even aware of them. They look pretty nice visually, you know. Nice apartments and all of that. That's the same place, one of those places was the same place where that child was run over in a parking lot. I don't know if you remember that. There was a child playing, and somebody they just got killed in that area right there. I think it was Rose, or Froze, which is near there, if I'm not mistaken. Rose Street, back there. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is, I have mixed feelings about this whole thing. You know, I'm Hispanic, I'm Puerto Rican. I was raised in this country, so I wasn't a migrant. I didn't come from anywhere. I came from the Bronx, like many people here, you know. So the word immigrant bothers me sometimes, because it's not immigrant, you know, especially if you're a citizen, and I'm a citizen. I could be a migrant anywhere in this country, but I'm not an immigrant. And I have a lot of feeling for the immigration that's happening in our area too. That's a totally another subject. That's something else. And what I was thinking was question that I had was, what are the basic motives of the developers? What was the basic motive to do this? You know, what is it? You know, because sometimes, let's say I want to open up a donut shop, or I want to sell donuts. I'll look to a place where nobody sells donuts, and I'll open it up there, and that'll be fine. There's a need, okay? So I would like to know if that was investigated, was it solicited from the community for somebody to build something there? Or did just somebody from outside come and just say, hey, this is like a good deal. If I could throw some units over here, you know, we could make some loot right here. It might be good. I mean, I'm not negating the fact that we live in a capitalistic world. You know, we live in a capitalistic world, and I understand that. Right now, I'm not planning to go anywhere. I'm raising my granddaughter. She's 11 months. And I would like her to see growing up in the neighborhood. It really bothered me to hear. I was coming not last week, when the other meeting was, but there was a little miscommunication, and I landed up seeing it on television. So I saw the whole meeting. So it bothered. I appreciate those people that stood up and spoke up for the neighborhood, that we want to keep our neighborhood, no matter where we are, if it's our little piece of property, if it's not 2 acres, if it's a part of an acre, it's still our property, and we want to make it nice, and we want to raise our family, we want safety, we want everything to be kept nice, just like the fact that we have dead-end streets is always great. And they've been trying to make a street to Spring Valley. A lot of people, a lot of people with interest have been trying to do that, and we've always knocked it down. And I will continue to try to keep that section not exposed to everything else around us, behind us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Colon. Thank you. I have one more speaker that signed up, and then I'll take people by raising their hand. Robert Romanowski.
It's Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue, Muncie. Really 2 things I want to talk about here today. The first thing is, does Ramapo really have a comprehensive plan? I know in 2004 you did one. You have one on paper. And the comprehensive plan in 2004, when you came out with it, Supervisor St. Lawrence, you said that it was the best comprehensive plan for Ramapo because it kept the highest density housing in Muncie where it was needed the most and became less dense as you moved toward the outer fringes of the town. And that's what you said that, but a few years after that, there was a downzoning by this board of the Patrick Farm, and that's on the outer fringes of the town. So it leads me to wonder, if the town really does have a master plan. I know you have one on paper, but you seem to change it whenever you want, and don't keep your word on what you said the master plan was going to be about. Also, with your master plan, this area that we're discussing today, your master plan of 2004 said that this area should remain as a single-family area. The other question I have is with these units, there's a duplex unit on top with an apartment below. Is that an accessory apartment? Because in Ramapo we have accessory apartments. So I want to know, is an accessory apartment allowed in an MR12 zone? What you seem to have is a unit above with an 2-bedroom accessory apartment below. And I also want to know, how is this going to work? Is this rental unit going to be owned by the people who live above it? Or is it going to have a different owner who's just going to rent it out? How is this going to work with this accessory apartment? So what we may have here is 105 units, each with an accessory apartment. So I'd like some more clarification on that. The last thing I want to speak about, you offered doing a lot of studies here, and the planners have done a lot of studies. And I'm requesting that, you said that this is open to everyone, this housing is available to everyone, so everyone that lives there is going to need an education, and this is in the East Ramapo School District. And I want to know if there's any kind of study going to be done to determine how this project will have an effect on the East Ramapo School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romanowski. Okay, anybody else want to speak? Michael, come right up.
Mike Perry, 86 Boot Rock Road. And I'm speaking in opposition to the housing discrimination that is inherent in this project. And I spoke about this last time, but I have to say, you know, I've seen you pull a lot of shenanigans, Mr. Supervisor, but for you to sit there and say with a straight face that there's a federal law that we have to follow, and we're going to make sure that these housing units are going to be, they're not going to be segregated from a community, is a new low for you. Because you know that those federal housing laws and requirements are routinely, systematically, and comprehensively ignored in Ramapo. All right? You are the president of the RLDC. Okay? And the RLDC constructed the Elm Street project. Okay? And it was, I don't know exactly what the situation was, but there was some federal funding and state funding or government funding involved in that project. And you know as well as I do that when you go to the Elm Street project, there is not a single member, aside from the ultra-Orthodox community, living in that entire housing complex, bar none. I'm not talking, there's no exceptions to that. It is entirely segregated, and it's housing that you built, and for you to sit here and say, oh, we're going to have to follow the federal housing law, when you know that that's false. You know that when you said that to that lady, that you were lying. Okay, that was a lie, and you know it. Okay, and you know you're well known for lying when you need to, but this and the Elm Street project is one example. You know the Parkview Apartments, same exact thing. You got a piece of prime real estate in downtown Spring Valley. Okay, the people in Spring Valley need 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. There were no apartments in that complex that were designed for the people of color or the people of Spring Valley aside from the ultra-Orthodox community. You go to the Parkview Apartments, and once again, there's not a single person living in that complex that's not from the ultra-Orthodox community. And there are many other examples. Ridge Avenue and almost all of the new construction that goes up is segregated housing, okay? You could easily, with this project, Chris, you could easily, the town has the power to easily say to the developer, okay, you want to have some high density, 4- to 6-bedroom apartments, well, you're going to have some 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. You could easily make that happen. But of course, we know that that will never happen in Ramapo. So what we have here is housing discrimination. It's a federal issue. And essentially, it's ethnic cleansing because you're trying to fast-track all of the developments that will be appeal to the ultra-Orthodox community and prevent any housing that would cater to the needs of the larger community that need 1- and 2-bedroom apartments.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Natalie Patasaw, and I live in Ramapo. And I don't live near this. I live in Wesley Hills. However, I was reviewing the, and I'm not here representing any organization, even though I'm on the planning board for the Rockland County. I'm on the Water Task Force for Rockland County. I chair the Environmental Management Council as a advisory group to the Rockland County Legislature. But I'm here because I also teach environmental science. And I was looking at the recommendations by the, it's a public document, by the planning board. And some of the things there concerned me. There was I believe it was this gentleman, an architect, a planner, engineer, okay. And he mentioned so many different things that were vitally important to a neighborhood. In planning, we call that a sense of place. And we understand what that sense of place is. That means when you go to Baltimore and you see all those row houses with the white marble stairs, you know you're in Baltimore. When you go to some certain other kinds of communities, there is a feel and a look that this has. And apparently, because this is so out of character with the existing land use patterns, it would destroy that sense of place for the area. And that's not what people, that's not what people moved here from. I also moved here from New York City. Probably like, show of hands, anybody ever lived in New York City? Okay. New York City is extremely high density. One of the reasons we moved here is to breathe some fresh air and have a little space. But one of the other things that concerns me is, but looking at this document, there's what we call steep slope development, that they would impact steep slopes. And when you develop on an incline, what you do is, of course, you take away the vegetation. One of the natural services of vegetation is you have a root system. The root system keeps your topsoil in place so that when it rains, you don't have a mudslide. All right? And that mudslide would come down. It impacts your sewers, your drainage. These are kinds of things a lot of people are not concerned about until it happens. So that's one of the issues. But it also says that there are wetlands on the area. They call them Environmental Protection Agency environmentally sensitive areas. Those basically are wetlands. And the reason I bring that up is because, as you well know, there was and I'm sure all of you know, that for many years, the United Water Company wanted to have a desalination plant in Haverstraw Bay. Now, what that means is that they wanted to take water out of the Hudson River and put it through a desalination process, which is a filtering process, and sell it to us to drink. I'll tell you something. I was in one of my classes, and I was explaining this to the students, and one of the students, teenagers, they said, "You mean we can't eat fish out of that river? And they're going to sell us the water?" Okay, but you know something? Technically, desalination is used around the world, but not in water-rich areas. We're in a water-rich area. Why do I bring that up? Because if you build what they call impervious surfaces, cement, driveways, streets on environmentally sensitive land, in other words, you build over your wetlands, the rainwater that we get won't go back into the ground and recharge the aquifers. We only have rainwater and snow, and people say, "Oh my gosh, what a terrible day, it's snowing." I'm like, hey, if it snows now, we won't have a drought in August. So we should be very happy it's raining and snowing, all right? But that's something that we need to be very much aware of, that, and this is one of the things that the legislature has developed, not developed, it's not the right word, has organized a task force on water management for Rockland County, because we do need to manage the water. One of the issues with managing the water, as you well know, is how do we distribute the housing? What do we pave over? And this has nothing to do with, I know some people are in this, you against us, us against you, that's not what it is, because we all need to have adequate water supplies. I don't care what you look like. You can be pink with purple polka dots. You still need to drink, well, maybe you wouldn't need it then. But you understand my point. Black, white, pink, or purple, you still need to have water, right? And that's what I'm concerned about, that we don't destroy our water resources or the ability of nature to replenish our natural water supplies. Because what are we going to do without water? You know, we take it for granted. So that's another thing that was very much of concern. Now, this another piece of this is that it says it's a fourfold increase in the number of people that are currently allowed to live in that area per the zoning regulations. Can you imagine if we were in this room and we increased the number of people in here 4 times? You know, it gets very crowded. The character of the place is not the same. The resources are not the same. The amount of garbage that would be generated is not the same. A fourfold increase in the population, that's a 400% increase, you know, and we really need to be concerned about what are the impacts with not just, in addition to the traffic and the roadways, the sewer systems, the water drainage. There are many different things that we just take for granted because our great civil servants that care for this or the contracted agencies, we do this as a matter of course. 400% increase in the garbage that is generated in a particularly small area, that's something we need to be concerned about. So those are just a couple of the things. We've had a great many very good citizens speaking here tonight. I respect all of you for, you know, your thoughts and your issues, and I just wanted to add a few concerns that I think we need to consider very, very seriously before this is approved. I really appreciate the fact that you've allowed me to speak, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Nadia.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Greenberg. I'm a resident of Ruston Estates, which is in the Clarkstown section of this property. The gentleman from your planning board, or your town planner, did show a very beautiful...
What's your address there, please?
7 Ruston Lane.
Thank you.
I've been a resident there since 1979. And just to briefly jump offside, Ruston Lane, or Ruston Estates, is an RG2 property in this community. We are 25 homes on 5.5 acres. I don't think that's high density. And that is one of the areas that was shown on your exhibits. Your town planner showed a beautiful exhibit of the area showing a house that has a community that has high density. I believe that house was either previously bungalow colony that has been transferred to an all-year season house, or it was a single-family home that has now multi-units. That is the one and only house or development of that nature in that community. As everybody else has pointed out, we have R15, we have many single-family homes. This change to a high-density community will really disrupt the nature of the community and the way it looks. I do have several questions about what we are seeing here tonight. I know there's been change from the last meeting. As somebody's pointed out, with the number of units are now half, but it's going to have an egress onto Pascack Road. I'd like to know where that is going to go on Pascack Road. Pascack Road has several sides to it, and how this is going to affect, even though we're saying the traffic pattern does not change, well, maybe from 7 to 9, but most of our people in the community commute into New York City. They are gone by 7 o'clock. They're on a train at 10 to 7. Or my husband at 10 after 6. So your traffic patterns at that time mean absolutely nothing. Coming home from the train station at night, he has to wait at least 4 to 5 traffic lights to get through the one-lane tunnel.
Thank you, Marcia. Thank you, Marcia.
At this time of the year, with the development of the Spring Valley.
Go ahead, Marcia.
Now, I like to be paid attention
Yeah, he just-
to.
he
I
just-
really resent when I'm
You
talking.
asked a question and he wanted it answered. Go ahead.
At this time of the year, the traffic on Pascack Road, with everybody going to, thank goodness, the well-developed Spring Valley Marketplace, is impossible. We have to make a left turn out of our development onto Pascack Road. If we don't do it at night, we are bound to be hit by an oncoming car. We are on a curve, as that whole road is more of a rural road, even though it's a county road, with no sidewalks except for one side of the street, partial way, between Forest Brook and Smith Road. There is no place to walk. It is impossible to travel on that road. So your highway traffic studies can show everything, but they're not real. I have questions about, you say federal housing. Does that 18 units going to be Section 8 housing? And if they're low income, who is going to set the criteria to the rentals? Also, if we have 2 types of ownership or living in that housing, is it going to be a homeowners association? Who's going to maintain that property so that our properties maintain their value in this community? Does the proposed development going to be on both those lots that are going in for zone change, or is this on one lot only now that the property has been cut down in half? Is the second property that's adjacent to it now going to be developed too? Or is this 105 acres are on both those lots that are requesting zone changes? I really hope by the time we come to the next meeting that these questions will be answered.
Thank you, Marcia.
Good evening. Beatrice Burgess with Burgess Associates. You heard earlier from my husband, who stole my thunder a bit, but that means that you'll be happy to hear that it'll keep me shorter. I want to thank the board for having this hearing and for scheduling the next one and presumably another one to address all of the issues that have arisen not only from the board but also the citizens and the county. I understand that you're not taking or you're not giving answers to questions. Some of my questions from last hearing were answered, but many remain, so I will ask them again, and I have a few to add. I was curious as to what the water capacity, what water capacity was needed for this project. That has not been addressed. I was also concerned and curious about what the sewer capacity would be needed for this project, and what is the quality of the system currently, and can it accommodate the flow of this development? I know it's been talked about and discussed, but none of the experts addressed the location of the floodplains or the locations of the wetlands and how the developments would be accommodated around those environmental constraints. The county letter from the Planning Board of Rockland County greatly stressed the issue of easements around those environmental constraints. It noted that currently on the current plan, there are buildings set to be built on easements, and that is not permissible.
Beatrice, you were here when Mr. Jackson spoke.
Yes.
He clearly said that there were wetlands on the property that were not going to be built upon, and there's a floodplain there that's not going to be built upon.
I did not hear how large the easements would be,
Okay. All right, I'll make a note of that.
and that was specifically mentioned by the county. Now, again, I know that the square footage of the 2-bedroom apartment or unit was 1,200 square feet. we have not heard what the total square footage would be, or at least I did not hear it. I asked some people, they didn't hear it either. And also there was some confusion as to whether each of these duplexes would be owned by one individual and then the two-bedroom unit would be rented out. Could I get any clarification on that? Did I just,
I made a note of what you just asked.
so I
And
can't
we'll-
get any
We'll make sure
clarification
that
now?
we get an answer for you on it.
Okay. I mean, I would just like to note that Mr. Carbon was quoted in the paper saying that he will answer all questions from the neighbors on November 21st, so perhaps you could do that and just speak to the units? Why?
Because last time you were here, you said you'd never been to Ramapo before, so we'd happy to answer your question,
Okay.
neighbor.
Can I get an answer to my question?
Beatrice, this is a chance for you to speak. I'm making notes on every question that you ask. And this is not... Please, sir. We're not going to have you swear in here. You're going to have to leave the room. All right. Please, just don't do it again, okay?
I was just quoting what Mr. Carbon said in a newspaper.
Beatrice,
So I was hoping that
Beatrice,
he could just...
Beatrice.
You know, had he answered how many
Beatrice,
units there were
Mrs.
last
Burgess?
time... Yes. Now I will
Wi-
respond.
Okay. Ms. Burgess. You did this last time. We made it very clear to you. You can ask any questions. We'll get answers for this. That's why we are extending these public hearings, so we can get answers. And so this is not a time to be quizzing anyone. You make your points that you want to make and what you want to have answered, and we will make notes of it.
Okay,
That's the way it works.
Let me digress a moment. The attorney, Mr. Ryan Carbon, started out by saying that there had been a lot of rumors about 6-bedroom units. Had he simply answered my question last time as to how many units there were in this project, there wouldn't have been these quote-unquote rampant rumors. So I don't think it's unfair to ask what the square footage is. That's it. It's a simple question. This is a public hearing. The public deserves to know. The public's coming out on a rainy, stormy, snowy night. I mean, I would expect the board to be a little
Ms.
kinder to its
Burgess, please,
constituents.
just
I am
ask
making my point.
Make your points.
I am making
It's
my
1,200 on the
point.
first floor. My guess would be 2,400 if there's
That
two
is
other
a
floors.
guess. Is that what we're putting on the record? Is that what the judge will read?
No, what I'm saying to you is that it will be in all the documents.
Well, in the document from your town planner, you did have, or he did write 6 units. 6 bedrooms in the units. 6-bedroom units is in your planner's report. 6-bedroom units. So which is it?
Mr. Lang,
So are you picking and
Mr.
choosing what I can get a response to?
No, because I'm not going to have you, give out information that's
Oh, I can quote
misinformation.
you.
So, Mr. Lang, would you directly answer that? Because she's said that you're...
Let me use the microphone.
Oh, sure. Go right ahead.
In order to be conservative, we took the maximum development that we thought could go for the environmental assessment. What that means is that the actual development will probably be less. And now you've heard it is less. What we have covered in the environmental review is that we have the capacity at the worst case. Is this going to be the worst case? No. That's where the 4 to 6 bedrooms came from. The actual development now, as presented, is 2 and 4 bedroom.
Thank you for your reply. I would like to know if there's anything if this were to be approved, this 2-bedroom and 4-bedroom distribution within the duplexes, will this be part of the stipulation of the approval? Or is this something that will just be said will happen, but we won't really know how many bedrooms are in there until the COs are issued, certificates of occupancy? Yes. Someone had brought this up, which was a key point that I wanted to address as well. There has been no mention thus far of school impacts, right? So if you just bear with me for 1 second, here it is. I was very happy to hear, Mr. Supervisor, that this housing will be open to everyone. So therefore, we need to hear about the impacts that these units and the children that come from these units will have on the school system. Now, I may not live here, but I read the papers, and I know that East Ramapo School District has been in the news nationally for the stresses that it has been under. So therefore, if we have, going on your estimates, there are 105 four-bedroom units, that's 420 bedrooms, 105 two-bedroom units, that's 210 bedrooms, that's 630 total bedrooms. You subtract 1 bedroom per couple or per adult, presumably they will be alone in that. Okay, that's 210 bedrooms that you're subtracting. You are left with 420 bedrooms. Let's be conservative and say that only 1 child will go into each bedroom, although we all know, anybody who's had a sibling, many times you have to share a room, right? Okay, so if you have 420 kids, and you take an education cost, which at a minimum, the average in the tri-state area, is about $7,500 per kid, your budget is going to take a hit of over $3 million just for schools. All right, just for schools. And these kids clearly are going to live there. These are big units. This does not take into consideration as well the costs for the community facilities and for recreation. Again, I was not clear whether, and the lady who spoke before me address this. I am not clear, and I guess I can't get this simple answer either, whether this is for the entire property, are these the 2 properties, are these all the units, are we going to hear about the other property at another time? This is a process where we just don't know what we're talking about here. Nobody's clarifying what we need to know. But again, I would like to point out, because I did the calculation today in our office that my husband mentioned, you know, it says in the map that I have, and I am using the map for the record, the Pascack Ridge zone change that shows apparently just the Muncie development, Muncie lumber development, that it says that there are 210 units with 2 parking spaces per unit, 420. Provided parking spaces are 290, and reserved parking spaces are 68. Now, it says each region, each neighborhood, how many spaces are in each one. As the woman said, you know, you could put anything in a report, so I counted each spot individually. And I will say that there are a total of, what did I just say? A total of 290, but the 68 in reserve, not to be found. And I would point out that they're still woefully deficient on parking. I would like to know who is going to address the county's letter and how it will be addressed. There are over 25 concerns stated in that letter. And my last question, again, is, could something be built on this site that conforms with the zoning as it stands currently? Thank you for your time. I will be back.
Thank you, Ms. Burgess.
My name is Deborah Munitz. I live at 5 Rose Hill Road in Montebello. Thanks for having me. John, the new plans do look better. However, if only you were actually doing some of the other projects in the area. Okay. Sorry I got here late. I may be covering some ground that was already addressed.
Go right ahead.
And I just want to say thank you for, I heard from other people that you're going to be doing another public hearing in January, which addresses a lot of my preliminary concerns about how there's just a lot of documents coming in. I know John Lang's latest document just came in on Monday, and I just got it yesterday, and it's pretty comprehensive, even though it's still a little incomplete. One of the things I did not see yet, which I was concerned about, was a review by the drainage agency. I had spoken to Vincent Altieri, because I'm on the water task force, as well, and he had said he hadn't seen it in his office. So I do believe that it's important to make sure it gets referred to the drainage agency, especially with all the floodplains, the steep slopes, the brooks, and the wetlands. I think that's important. I also didn't see any feedback from Spring Valley. I'm just was wondering if if it had gotten referred to them, and whether you guys were expecting feedback from that neighboring municipality.
The deputy mayor of Spring Valley's been here all evening.
Okay,
It
but
was
you haven't
referred
gotten
to
a
later.
document.
It was referred to both the drainage agency and the Village of Spring Valley.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we're expecting that we should get, theoretically, something back. I saw John had told me that there was a JD for the property. I did see Stacy Jensen's letter with the ACO's cover form, but none of the maps or anything that it was based on. I also haven't seen in the plans any sort of existing conditions that would include like all the wetlands, all the easements, the sewer easements, the utility easements, something that indicates the steep slopes, where the current tree coverage is. It would be really helpful. Atzel they're great. They may actually have already done this, but I didn't see it as part of the record. I really believe that should be part of the record, to have like one place where we could really see what's going on there, and so that the impact can be judged. I wanted to ask I'm a little confused as to the seeker process that's being followed, and maybe Attorney Klein can address this, where in the process we are. I didn't see any scoping documents. I didn't see any documents saying that, the wording of John Lang's document sort of speaks to a lot of environmental impact studies being done, but it doesn't appear to be in the format that I would have been expecting, or I didn't see, maybe I didn't find the resolutions related to that, so I was hoping that maybe at the end of this hearing, before you announce the public hearing, maybe you could at least just let the public know where we are in the process.
I know you didn't get the first part of the meeting, Deb, but Mr. Lang did go over the entire supplemental EAS and went through, point by point.
But are we in that official process at this point? Was there like a scoping for the EIS?
There's no scoping. There was
Okay.
a EAF Part 1 submitted with both petitions.
Okay,
The town
I
is
saw that.
required to prepare an EAF Part 2, identifying those areas of environmental concern which we want the applicants to come back and explain in greater detail.
Was that
And
done?
Mr.
No, I'm just asking if that was done already.
Yeah, he did it, he presented it
He
to us.
presented, okay,
Yeah.
because I didn't get it yesterday.
We'll get
Go
you a
ahead,
copy.
go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay.
And Mr. Lang had a large visual of the EAF Part 2 for both projects that he reviewed with the board and those here. And the board later may either adopt that Part 2 or adjourn consideration of that to a later meeting. That has
Okay.
yet to be decided by the board.
Okay.
And then, assuming that Part 2 is adopted, then it's incumbent on the applicants to respond to that and submit a Part 3.
Okay, and did you guys, I assume you declared yourself lead agency at some point? Was that done?
We are the lead agency on this, yes.
Was it, was that for, I haven't seen I'm just looking through I'm making sure my record is complete.
This is the.
It's okay, go ahead.
This
You
is
can-
the sole
you can educate
approval
me.
entity for the applications that are before the board. So the town board is the only entity that has the approval authority for the zone change, which is proposed, and for an amendment to the comprehensive plan. There's
Okay.
no other agency that could approve that.
So you're saying it's assumptive? It's an assumed thing?
There's no dispute among different municipal agencies because we're the sole agency that has jurisdiction to make these determinations.
Okay, so you're saying it's not necessary, not declared because it's not necessary. Okay, got it. And then, so you answered my question about the EAF Part 2. And is there a list, because like you were saying, certain things had gotten referred, is there actually a list of all of the agencies that you're expecting to review this? Like a list of involved agencies? That wasn't in the document that I saw. Is there like sort of a list that you're tracking?
There's a list of every agency that received a referral from the town board. Yes, we can provide that to you.
So there's a list that can be provided. Okay. So coming back to the comment that I made the last public hearing, was my concern that this is an amendment to the comprehensive plan which affects all of the town of Ramapo. meaning it's supposed to be comprehensively reviewed in the context of its impact, benefits, detriments to everyone in the town of Ramapo. And it should be comprehensively evaluated in that context. I happen to think John seems to be tracking and trying to pull together all the documents with respect to this specific property. But I didn't see anything so far related to any analysis overall relative to the 2004 comprehensive plan. Like, where are we in the plan? What has been developed under the plan? Where was the plan seen to be, insufficient? We're talking about changing this one small portion of this medium density development area, and it's actually a pretty large area on the map. And I don't see, other than the fact that this happens to be undeveloped at this time, which makes it unique, there's nothing else that I see that differentiates it from the rest of the area. So why would they not be entitled to a change in zoning? Because there's that entire area, north, a little bit east, mostly north of it, that, what is to stop this process from rolling over? Why is this different? How is this being contemplated in a way that, when the next developer comes and says, I want to buy these 3 homes and do this. We've had areas in Ramapo where developers has come in and they've bought up, 3 single-family homes and they've replaced it with, 60 apartments. What's to stop the process and the consideration if we don't do a better job with how we consider this plan? Because we're setting a precedent for how we handle future, zoning requests. And I said last time that I really felt that I agreed that, thank you, the time had come, that it, has been a decade, and I agree that, there are needs that need to be addressed, and that we have to go back and sort of evaluate this overall inventory and the needs of, you've got needs of people who want to stay low density, you've got the needs of people who need more, development, and you've got all sorts of different constraints, but it should be a town-wide evaluation. I don't think that you can consider, I know you're going through a lot of effort to deal with this comprehensively, but I think until you actually deal with it comprehensively as a town of Ramapo at large, I think we're just, and I don't want to mean this meanly, but this is still spot zoning. I think that John's trying to do a very good job to try and address this, but it is still spot zoning because you've got the largest percentage of the property by 2 developers who are asking for consideration. And if you give them consideration, what's to stop other developers from coming along? I think we're setting a really bad precedent, and it's just not an appropriate way to do it, especially when we're at a time where we had the desal plan that's been put on hold. Thank you very much for fighting so hard to do that. I really want to give the supervisor credit for being part of that fight. But now we're at this situation where we have limited water resources, and the county is pulling together a big task force to evaluate, how we're going to maximize our waters, redirect them, clean them up, do all this, and we're talking about developing a property that has steep slopes, it's next to a brook, it has wetlands, it has utilities, it has all of these reasons that it probably hasn't been developed to date. And there was good reasons for you, sorry, in the original comprehensive plan, and I didn't see any, I may have missed it, but there actually was a recommendation in the plan for the property, that green mark on the land use plan that was associated with the comprehensive plan, was actually a recommendation to buy that space for open space. And I think that was in recognition of the fact that, this is an area that could use a little extra protection. So I think we need to have, what is the status of all the multifamily development that's underway? What about older, rundown, empty apartment buildings? Why aren't they being renovated or replaced first? How does this help the residents in all the villages who want less density and not more density? How does it help us? How does this actually help the residents in the adjacent areas? I think the people in the adjacent areas want to know. I don't think they feel that this is going to help them at all. Who does this actually help? Okay, if it's just a small portion of the town of Ramapo, or if it's actually to take advantage of this pent-up demand from outside the town of Ramapo to move into the town of Ramapo, then are we making a decision or contemplating making this decision for people who are outside the town of Ramapo? Why would we want to hurt our ratables, our current residents, and our desires and all the things that made us invest in this town for the benefit of someone else? Okay, it's a very serious conversation, and you have to analyze that in order to make this a comprehensive plan amendment. What will it? I think someone raised the issue of, the number of residents. I figured easily it's a 1 to 2,000. Where are the costs? Where's the fiscal analysis of what it's going to take to support several thousand new residents? I know I'd looked at this before, and just the garbage collection alone is probably more than the cost of one garbage collector. So where's the economic value to this? Has there been an analysis of the loss of value to homes in the area where so many people are leaving the town of Ramapo?